Hello everyone and welcome to AC Spotlight. Today I'm joined by Raymond, the GM of Crits and Calamity. Welcome, man.
It's nice to be led on here, and I appreciate it.
100%. Real quick question before we actually get started. At your table, what is your preferred tabletop snack of choice?
Ooh, I would either say that
This trumps everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone has a different answer.
Oh, I would have to say sour gummy worms.
Yes, Raymond. Hell yes. I'm a sucker for sour worms. Oh man, it's a great. I prefer the smaller ones because they're like easy bite size, so I don't have to like spend all my time chewing while my players are doing whatever. And the moment it comes back to me, it's gone. I'm already done. Large gummies they're dangerous.
Yeah, they give us all kinds of snacks whenever we're at the table.
Oh man, I love it. Well, if you don't mind, just for the audience sake as well, could you tell us a little bit more about Crits and Calamities?
Yeah, of course. So we had actually started before we became Crits and Calamities. It was probably 5 years before, and we started out at our kitchen table, which is just like right outside the door here, and we always wanted to try something new and try some new campaigns, and that's where I really started out as a GM. And we wanted to try to do something more, like add something more to the community, and kind of bring the home game aspect to actual play. So that's why we ended up starting up our actual play, is because we wanted to bring our home game to the online platform.
Yeah, the actual play channel, hence the poster right behind you, which looks absolutely amazing, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, we actually had a artist on Facebook. He drew all of this up for us. I need to get an updated poster. This is from whenever we first started Crits and Calamities, like the very first minutes. Yeah.
A random question that I like to ask actual play creators, which is, it's going to be twisted a little here, because a random question I usually ask people is, do you remember your first dice set? However, I can actually take that question and twist it a bit and say, do you remember the first dice set you ever created? Because you are a dice maker.
Yes. Actually, I have them right around the corner. Let me grab them real quick.
The magic of editing. That's incredible that you've kept your first set.
Yeah, so here are our
first set. Ocean Blue.
We actually did a giveaway just recently, and one of our viewers had ended up getting this for free. Either the brown or this ocean blue color.
Oh, gorgeous. But yeah, you've been creating dice. How did it start from like a kind of like you were playing the game and eventually you sort of saw that other side of the hobby, decided to jump into it, or was it the opposite way around? Were you always making dice and then jumped into actual play?
So we had considered doing that for a long time, and I found out how hard it is.
Oh.
So this is like the fourth attempt at making dice, and it took so much patience because I was working on this for probably 3 days, trying to perfect it and try to get all the air bubbles out, because we don't have all the special equipment and everything. It's just like a mold and trying to use like different techniques that I've learned over the years, like with concrete and other things like that.
Wow. So you took personal experience and then threw that into sort of a hobby experience. I like that.
Yeah.
When it actually comes to your actual play, there's this weird, interesting thing I found, especially with GMs, is that there's this extra layer of turning your love from TTRPGs and making it something produced, because you could have just kept it at your kitchen table, so you decided to sort of take that extra leap. Generally, that comes from like another love of like creation and digital marketing and digital media. Was that always a factor for you as well? Did you have a love for like creating videos or creating something online?
So this is completely new to me. So I don't really understand completely with like the whole promotional and making videos and editing. So it has been it's one of my weaknesses, but I do love creating. That's one of the biggest things that I love about TTRPGs and D&D is being able to create these elaborate stories and diverse backstories and such. But I've never really understood the video making part of it.
Well, then we're essentially seeing you evolve right now, sort of, improving upon. And the reason I say that is because you don't just produce videos of actual play things. I've seen that you've also done gaming streams. You've done also, obviously I mentioned before, your dice making. And then you kind of walk the audience through sort of behind the scenes, peeling the veil of prep work. I've seen prep work streams that you've done as well.
Yeah, I enjoy doing that. I enjoy showing people like the things that we've acquired over the years. We actually have a game store here that I used to go into, and that's really where we started out, is where I grabbed my Dungeon Master's Guide and my first monster manual. We all got it from there.
Wow. Speaking of no GM is an island. How did you find your players?
So we all used to work together. We just ended up all gathering up, and I was like, "Hey, let's try out some D&D," and they had no idea anything about it. Still, half of them don't know anything about it, but
listen,
they always ask me clarifying
speaking
questions.
from a GM of 10 years, I still don't remember it's sometimes you always need to have that book. But no, that's starting from as coworkers. I have that similar experience. Did they too were kind of sort of invoked, or at least excited for the idea of making this sort of a produced thing, or was there any like pushback from it?
At first they didn't really know what to think, because they were like, well, we're never going to get anywhere with this. We could just keep it at the table. And I was like, I want to turn this into something big. Nice. I want to be able to show others what we've been creating, and not keep it hidden behind the kitchen table.
I love that. Well, obviously I mentioned before, you are the GM of Crits and Calamity. With that in mind, did you always start off as like when you started your sort of TTRPG experience and sort of life, were you always the GM, or did you graduate from a player seat?
So I was actually a player at first, and my favorite character to play, or class to play, is a druid. I love druids, and also rangers. I know they get a lot of hate, but those are some of my favorite classes to play. I've also played some different modules, or some different universes, like Rift's Earth, which is a really good one, as well as the Star Wars 5th edition.
Mm. No, believe me, I love the druid. Sometimes as a GM, there's a lot of moments where you're like, God damn it, druid, I can't believe you could do that. In your there's always this curiosity I have with most actual play GMs and creators, which is there's always like a checklist. I'm noticing that there's like, before you start to record, or before you start to stream, there's checking audio, checking visuals, making sure the overlay's okay. How long do you estimate they usually take? And this is information for people who are thinking of starting their own actual play. But how long does it take you to do a prep checklist prior to any recording or stream?
So overall, I would probably say about 15, 20 minutes, somewhere around there. Because first I start out by making sure all the camera angles are still correct. So I pull up OBS, which with this new framework that I have above the table, that's helped out a whole lot, because nothing really shifts on the frame because it's attached to the table. And then my audio levels, that's something that takes a little bit longer, but it's not too hard.
I think that's something that not a lot of people recognize when it comes to the work that goes behind not only running your game for your players, but also sort of keeping it also entertaining and visually appealing and audio appealing for audiences online. So there's a lot of work that goes behind it. So, obviously this is information that anyone who feels like they want to create their first AP, it's something you should know. When it comes to storytelling, especially your style, I've noticed that there are different types of storytelling, variables or ways you can be a GM. If you had to classify or summarize the way that you tell stories, what kind of GM are you?
Well, I take a lot of inspiration from like some of the bigger names like Critical Role and Dimension 20.
Yeah.
I've always taken like a love relationship with Matt Mercer's storytelling, how he's done that on Critical Role for so many years, now with Brett Lee Mulligan. But I always wanted to kind of emulate that, but in my own way. I've wanted to create a universe or a world where magic is. In this world that I'm creating right now, we have magic's outlawed. The gods are imprisoned right now, and cults are trying to take over, along with this evil regime that the players absolutely hate. So creating those antagonists that the party will eventually rise to meet the challenge.
That's incredible. Actually, I would love to learn more about that as well. The world that you're building, that's amazing that, sort of deities and sort of, these gods have been imprisoned. You have all that set. Is there a moment that you could sort of give a little bit of a teaser to audience for viewers of like what moment happened in Crits and Calamity that people should keep an eye out or would want to rewatch?
Ooh, I would probably say the moment that the party ended up going against the hag's magic.
I love anytime a hag is involved, you got my attention. Heck yes.
Yeah, so they ended up going back into the forest where they all were beginning to hear voices throughout it, and there was this straw doll that was following them around in the forest, calling out their names. And they ended up coming upon this cabin in the woods that ended up being completely burned down by the local villagers because of the hag. They found out she was a hag there, and they went down and seen multiple objects that were moved around. They seen like this fluorescent light that was emanating from the back of it. And they started moving things around where the straw doll actually started running around in the basement chasing them.
No, thank you. very Evil Dead vibe getting it right now.
Yeah. I think that's actually what they said during the session.
Oh. Well, speaking of could you tell us more, like maybe not just like, you could tell us obviously if you wanted to tell about the actual players, but tell us about the characters. Who's currently, going through this adventure?
Yeah, so currently we have Idra. She is, well, it's Amber's character. So she is a he in the campaign. So he is a orcish fighter. He came from one of our previous campaigns whenever we first started, before we had started Crits and Calamities, and had a friend named Sissa, which was her other character's name. So she's just trying to find some closure and trying to find her friend again, or trying to move on. We also have Arius. We don't know too much about Arius right now. He's a tiefling ranger, but he seems to be adapting to the group life as he's more of a solo person. And then we also have Voltaire. He is a blood hunter. human blood hunter. So he's kind of made that Geralt kind of physique and character for himself. So he's laid back. He tries to stay out of conflict as much as he can, and he's ran on a couple encounters on multiple occasions.
That's actually interesting. Not a lot of there's this sort of instinct I see from players that if they're in engagement, they want to see it through. Sometimes running away is a valid option. Not a lot of people do that. Sometimes as GMs, we're like, you need to leave.
Yeah.
What was that? I apologize. What was the last character?
Oh, no, you're okay. And Ezekiel, he is a ASMR sorcerer. He cannot roll to save his life. He ended up using inspiration on a death saving roll because he rolled three fails in a row. So I allowed him to use one of his inspirations to save his life. Ended up rolling a natural 20 on the next one.
Oh, that's when you know you've been blessed.
But no, those are all the characters with crits and calamities, and they're really growing on me.
Oh, I love it. How long has the campaign been going for?
I would say about a year, but we've only been doing our main sessions every other week. Recently, we've been trying to do it every week, just as people's schedules can accommodate for that.
Yeah, IRL usually sort of comes first. When it comes to table rules and safety, usually I see this with actual play creators is that when it comes to the argument of a rule of cool or rules as written, usually I've seen people lean more towards the rule of cool just because you're not just telling a story to entertain your party, you're also doing it to entertain the audience, making sure that the story feels engaging as well as sort of thematic. I'm usually a betting man. I'm usually kind of assuming that that's kind of the same thing with your table.
Yes.
Kind of figure, but with that in mind, is there a rule at your table that is written in stone that cannot be changed?
I would say the help action. I prefer that the help action, not so much rolling occurs, so I don't have to explain oh, this is like a 15 perception and like a 5 perception, like everybody's rolling, and then I have to explain exactly what's happening with each person. So it kind of makes the show flow a lot nicer and cleaner.
Oh. Yeah, that actually makes sense. Yeah. Well, incredible. Well, Raymond, I want to thank you so much for sitting with me and for not only sharing your stories with me, but with the internet as a whole. Where can people find you and Crits and Calamity?
So you can find us on almost every social media platform. We're mainly on Twitch, so if you look up Crits and Calamities on Twitch, you'll find us there, and we have all of our links attached to our profile.
Incredible. Well, go watch that. Go check them out. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thank you.